Hey guys, it's Julian, and today I'm going to be showing you how to make funky disco house like never dull. As usual, you can get the full project file and samples and MIDI presets. Everything from this video is available right at the top of the description, and if you're a patron on my Patreon, definitely check there because it's already available. And also guys, before I get started on this video, if you haven't already, make sure to like the video as well as subscribe, and yeah, let's get started. The first sound we have here is this Wurlitzer, which sounds like this. Alright, so these are the chords for this one. What it is it's a D sharp minor 7 chord and then an F sharp major 7 chord. So we're just going like it's really just moving kind of up the scale. If you look, you can see that both of these chords have 3 notes in common. You can see. So yeah, and then this is just like a really simple chord progression, you know, it just hits on the upbeats. Usually with these style of tracks, you want a more simple chord progression, you know, it's just something that's just gonna hit really nicely on the upbeats like that and kind of have, you know, some vibe to it. Having the 7th chords here, like by adding the 7th on top, it adds a more jazzy and kind of disco sort of funk feel to the chords. And yeah, then for the sound with this one, it's made using this Ableton rack here. I've just got this going into a bit of chorus. So here's without the chorus. And then with it, you can hear why that's important. It helps to give it that more lo-fi kind of dreamy sort of feel. I wouldn't necessarily say you're going for like a very lo-fi sound here in the sense, in like that classical lo-fi sense, but it's got that kind of like soft airiness to it. And that's where this chorus comes in. It's putting that on your Wurlitzer or on your Rhodes to kind of spread it out and also give it that more airy feel. And then speaking of that, we've also got a bit of reverb, so this adds even more, you know, kind of space and airiness to the sound. And then finally, the last thing on here is just a bit of drum bus. Drum bus is really good for this style because you're really trying to give every sound some texture and kind of like some warmth. Drum bus does a really, really good job of that. So I've got that there just to kind of fatten it up. Here's without it. And then with it. So you can hear how it just makes everything kind of a lot more full with the sound, and it brings that warmth and fatness to the sound that you need for the style. And yeah, that's it for the Wurlitzer. After that, we have this electric bass, which sounds like this. So there's the bass line. It's really just following a really simple chord progression where we're just going D sharp, F sharp, and then G sharp in the end. It's just like that. You know, super simple chord progression. This goes back to the disco thing. That's a very disco chord progression, but then the way that we're sort of like flaunting it using this bass line is not, you know, it's a little bit more modern and a little bit more futuristic. But yeah, just starting with that really simple chord progression and then just kind of walking like up and down the scale to add these extra notes here. Like for example here, that F sharp, if we look at the Wurlitzer, you can see that's just the second note in the chord. That would be the minor third of this chord. Or here, like this A sharp to F sharp there. Well, that's also the next note in the F sharp major chord. So yeah, it's just kind of like using notes from the chords and writing something kind of simple that has a lot of groove like this. Like if you listen to this with the kick, you get that bow bow, and then at the end of the bars, bow bow bow. You know, it's very rhythmic and it's very much playing off of the groove as well as the chord progression. So for the sound on this one, I actually used the slap bass inside of Ableton here. The slap bass is a really good sound for this style because it gives you that like really punchy bass, you know, but it also helps because it's a live bass sound. I think for this sound, you really need to use a live bass. Like, it just kind of has to be a sample, not necessarily a sample of an actual bass line, but just a sample of one note that you can play your own bass line with, because you're just really not going to get that same kind of live bass sound. Like that slap bass. It's just, you can't really get that with synthesis the way you get it just using like a live bass sample like this. So I've got that, and then it's going into a low pass filter here. This is a technique that's used a lot in these style of tracks because these bass lines, if you listen to it without the low pass, like especially when we bounce up there, it can be a little bit inconsistent in terms of the volume of the notes. For whatever reason, that's just kind of how it behaves, but if you low pass it, you can hear it's a lot more even now. And also just that super clickiness that you get without the low pass isn't always the best. Like, you really want the bass to just be focused in the low end. So cutting that out just kind of makes the overall mix a lot smoother. And then we just have a bit of saturation to fatten the sound up. You know, just to really give the bass that warmth and fullness. And then finally, I have it side chained to the kick because that helps with the groove. It's not just for making it like fit into the mix, but also, you know, if I turn off the side chain and I'll play the bass line and kick together, and then with it, you know, having it kind of like bounce off of the kick like that is doing a lot for the groove of this bass. And yeah, that is it for the bass. After that, we have the kick, which sounds like this. So the main thing with this one is you just want this like fat kind of deeper kick like this, you know. It's almost like a trap kick. Like, it's almost like the kick you would hear in a trap beat or something like that, but it's just this very fat, you know, mid-rangey, kind of punchy kick like you can hear. And then I just have that going through a bit of drum bus. So here's without the drum bus. And then with it, so really not like a whole lot happening there, but it's just because you don't really need it because it's already a fat sound, and then this drum bus just gives it that extra little oomph to really hit. And yeah, and then the kick and the bass are in a group together with just a little bit of saturation. So here's without this, and then with it. So you can hear that without it, it's not a huge difference, and this is mostly just because already the kick and bass are really fat, but this extra little bit of saturation, it's just gluing them together and kind of filling in that space a bit. You can hear like the low end overall in the full track feels a lot more full and a lot fatter when you have this than when you don't. So it's just a simple trick to really get that low end to stand out and really be as full and fat as it can be in the mix. And yeah, that is it for the kick and the bass. From there we have the percussion. So it starts with this hi-hat. Yeah, just like a pretty simple fat hi-hat sample like this. Lots of mid-range and a little bit of high-end as well. The main thing I noticed is just you want to make sure you pick one like this that has a lot of kind of fatness to it while still being a bit softer. You know, it can't just be like a super hard hitting hi-hat. It's got to be something a little bit softer, a little bit more live like this, but still punchy. And sitting right on top of the mix. From there we have this little shaker which sounds like this. So this is just this little live shaker. And then I'm just kind of being sidechained to the kick a little bit, and then I'm high passing it with this EQ. And yeah, with the percussion, it's important to layer in something live like this, because if you just have the really rigid programmed percussion, you know, it doesn't feel as groovy. And it doesn't really have that new disco sort of feel, but when you add something like this, it's just adding that extra sort of like bright high-end element in the percussion that's really carrying it and helping to add a lot of groove to the track. So this is just this little loop here, and then, you know, again, just like a live one recorded, and then I've just got a compressor, side chaining it, high pass. Like I said, you know, really not a whole lot of stuff, but yeah, that really adds a lot to the track. Then the last percussion sound we have here are the claps. So basically, we have two claps. We have this one, which is more of like the punch clap. You know, that's the one that's hitting like right on the beat. And then we have this one, which is more kind of like the background clap, but you can see it hits a little bit before the beat. It's like in there. And if we play this with the other one, so if we play this on its own, you get that cool hand clap feel, but it's a bit too soft. But then we layer the other one in, and you can hear it. So this one is the punch, and this one's adding that more live kind of free hand clap feel. And then we put this one a little bit before the beat, so you get kind of like a flam, like a. And then on the group of those, I just have a bit of saturation. You can see there's no processing on them individually, but then I'm saturating them together to kind of, one, fatten them up, and two, glue them together so it just kind of sounds like one clap. And then on the group of all that percussion, we just have a little bit of saturation and a bit of a high pass filter. So here's without anything. And with the processing. So you can hear it's subtle. We didn't really need a whole lot because already these are some pretty solid sounds. But it's just giving that extra little glue to all the percussion to really make it all fit together nicely. So again, yeah, just a little bit of saturation is really the glue that's happening there. And then the high pass filter is just cutting out the lows and making sure that this isn't going to get in the way of the kick and the bass or any other elements in the track. And yeah, that is it for the percussion. And then the next layer here would be these vocal chops. So these are just these two little vocal chops here. I've gotten them, you can see, I tuned them a bit. They're both pitched. And the pitch is also helping with the rhythm too, because if I turn off the pitch on this one, see how like, you get that ooh super quickly, but then if I slow it down, you're getting more of a ooh, so it fits into the beat a bit better. So yeah, just some simple vocal samples in there. You know, this is kind of like that extra stuff that's going to add the extra bit of oomph to the track, because without this you can hear, you know, it's just the most basic layers. But then we add this stuff. And you can hear like having the and those little things like that is really like adding a lot of excitement to the track, and it sits in the place. Like, I would think like if you don't have these things, maybe you could have like a singer over it, like somebody just singing a whole hook over this. But these things are the things that are gonna sit in the place of that, so you can still have an instrumental track that feels as exciting as a track with vocals over it. So with these, we just have a little bit of reverb, a little bit of drum bus, kind of fattening them up, and that also brings out the reverb too, because if I turn off the drum bus, and then I'll turn it on, see how that reverb's a bit louder now? That's what that's doing. And then finally, we just have a high pass filter. And yeah, that's it for the vocals. Again, really simple, but just adds that extra little bit of oomph to the track. Then after that, we have this little cello, which sounds like this. So this is just playing this. It's just, we're in the key of D sharp minor, so it's just playing the 5th, which is A sharp, G sharp, which is the 4th, and then the root note. Really simple, but this is just so that the second time that the vocals come in, it's not just the exact same thing. You know, this time instead it goes. So what this is it's just this staccato cello. Again, this is kind of the type of thing that you just have to use the sample for. So I have this in here, and then I have it going through a bit of drum bus to fatten it up, and then a bit of a high pass filter. So here's without these, and then with them. You can hear the drum bus gives it that feel where not only is it fattening it up, but it also makes it feel warmer and almost more like a sample. So it'll fit really nicely in with the track and with the vibe of the track. And then also, I just have the high pass filter to cut out the lows, make sure it's not getting in the way of the kick and bass or anything else. And then finally, we just have this little vinyl noise, which this is actually completely dry. And this is just meant to add a little bit of background like tss. It's really, really subtle. But I'll show you, here's the track without it. and then with it. So you can hear I'm just having that over top of everything, just kind of adds some vibe, and what it really does is it helps to kind of really solidify that sampled feel. You know, this is really going to make everything feel like it's got a bit of warmth and a bit more texture to it than if you just didn't have this playing. And all it is, just some vinyl noise. Got it turned down a little bit. And there it is. And yeah, so that is it for this project file, and that is also going to be it for this video, guys. So, as always, I hope you enjoyed. Make sure to like this video as well as subscribe, and let me know what you think of this video in the comments. Like I said in the beginning, you can get this full project file and samples and MIDI, presets, everything from this video is available right at the top of the description. And if you're a patron on my Patreon, check there because it's already available. Thank you so much, guys, and I will see you tomorrow with another video.